Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome to all the devotees for this exclusive question answer session. Next 1 hour I'll be trying to answer whatever questions you post on live chat. I already have some questions. You can post more questions on live chat and I'll try to answer them. The first question for today: if eating meat is sinful, then are all the countries that are primarily non-vegetarian destined for hell? The answer is yes. Unfortunately, in our age, present age, people are almost totally ignorant about what activities constitute sin, which result in punishment in hell. All sinful activities are not punishable in hell. This is one point you should understand. Very grievous sinful activities are punishable in hell. Hell means it's a special place exclusively meant for punishment. Hellish planets are different from the regular 14 planetary systems. According to the Bhagavatam, 5th canto, there are the upper planets, the middle planets and the lower planets. Earth belongs to the middle planetary system. Sutala Loka and Patal Loka, these are lower planetary systems. And Swarga Loka, Mahar Loka, Brahma Loka are upper planetary systems. But apart from this upper, middle and lower, there are 26 kinds of hellish planets where it's only meant for punishment for those who commit extremely sinful activities. For example, killing an innocent animal for the sake of satisfying the tongue by trying to enjoy eating animal flesh. This is what is called as very, 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 very sinful activity. Just like your life is very, very, very dear to you. Whenever there's a danger for your life, don't you try to protect yourself? Don't you try to defend? Does anybody like to die? Any human being, does he like to die, he or she? Nobody. So then why are we not giving the opportunity for other creatures to live? What right have we got to kill some innocent creature just because I like to eat flesh? No, that is not at all justified in any way. So therefore, eating the flesh of an animal involves animal killing. Of course, there's an exception to this. If somebody eats the flesh of an animal after it has died a natural death, then there is no punishment in hell, though such eating of animal flesh is in tamoguna. It is in the mode of ignorance, and consequently their life is affected. They live in tamasic condition. Their life is affected in that way. But there is no punishment in hell for those who eat animal flesh after the animal has died a natural death. Next question. Each year the human population is increasing. Is this a normal phenomenon? Now this whole calculation of what is the human population of this earth planet, this is a very, very, very short-sighted understanding of the count of the population, because earth planet is one among millions of planets in this whole universe. This universe is one among millions and billions of universes in the whole material creation. And the material creation itself is an insignificant portion of the spiritual existence. So to think that whatever we know of as life on earth is all in all is ignorance actually of the actual facts. So there are human beings not only on the earth planet, but they are there in all the planets. Every planet is inhabited by living beings, and there are varieties of living beings on different planets. So human beings are there everywhere. Everywhere there are human beings on all the planets. So what is this consideration of human population on earth? There is no such there should be no such consideration. So our calculation is all flawed, it's all defective. So there is no such thing. There is a possibility that somebody who is living in this life on this planet as a human being will take birth in another planet in the next life. That is possible. May take birth as a human being in the next life in another planet, or may take birth as some animal in some other planet in the next life. Anything is possible. Or even as a devata. So, human population is not restricted to the earth. And even this universe itself with millions of planets is not the only universe. There are millions of universes. So forget about this calculation of population. It is totally meaningless. Next question. If it's impossible to find happiness without Krishna, aren't we being forced to love him? Very intelligent question. It's a fact that we can never be really happy without Krishna. That's a fact. But then, why is it like that? That we can only be happy with Krishna? It is because that's the way we are made. Each one of us, every living being has got a relationship with Krishna. And that relationship is a relationship of love. So since each one of us has a relationship of love with Krishna, and Krishna is the only unlimited supreme personality. So in our relationship with Krishna only can we find the ocean of happiness that we are seeking. We may have a loving relationship with another living being, but that living being is very, 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 very tiny, insignificant person. As much as we ourselves, each one of us, we are also very tiny and insignificant. So, for any living being seeking ocean of happiness, to get a very, 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 very little happiness in the relationship of love with another human being or another living being is actually frustrating. One of the Vaishnava poets, he compares this happiness or love in the material world to a drop of water supplied to a thirsty person who is wandering in the desert looking for water. Supposing you are in the desert and you are searching for water in the scorching heat. You search because water is scarce in the desert. You may come across some person who may say, I'll give you some water. You say, please give me. I'm very, very, very thirsty. So the person will say, I have only one drop of water to give you. Will it quench your thirst in any way? Impossible. So similarly, in the material world, we are looking for that happiness which you can get from Krishna in our original relationship of love with Krishna. But if we don't discover Krishna, if we don't connect with Krishna, instead we try to find that happiness in some other loving relationship with another person of this world, another limited living being, that is like a drop of water given to a thirsty person in the desert who's extremely thirsty. It's like that. So you can never find the happiness you're looking for from any other person simply because they're all limited. And to seek happiness in a relationship with Krishna is not a force, because love cannot be forced. Love cannot be forced. So therefore, you have to voluntarily accept Krishna's love, Krishna's loving relationship. And it's natural for us to love Krishna. It is just that under some artificial condition, material condition, we have forgotten Krishna. We think we belong to this world. It's only under illusion we think like that. If we come out of illusion, we know we don't belong to this world. We know we belong to Krishna. We know we belong to Krishna's personal abode in the spiritual world. All those things are very natural for somebody who's out of the influence of illusion. So the primary requirement for us to solve all our problems, to get real happiness, to get real loving reciprocation, is to come out of this material illusion. And that is the process of Krishna consciousness. Next question. Can we hear beautiful bhajans if they are not sung by devotees? Yes, you can hear and you can get some happiness or some satisfaction. But if it is not sung by devotees, you will not get the spiritual happiness that is available in descriptions of Krishna in the form of bhajans or descriptions in the scriptures, etc. If you don't hear from the lips of a devotee, then you will not get that spiritual happiness. You will get material happiness. Material happiness anyway is available in so many ways, which can never satisfy you, which can never really give you the real happiness you're looking for. Next question. Can Lord Krishna make another world where we can be happy without him? Yes, Krishna has done that. That is this world. Krishna has created this material world. It's a place where we can be happy without him. And that's what people say, no? Some people, if you ask, why don't you take to Krishna consciousness? He says, I'm perfectly fine, I'm happy. Everything is okay with me. I don't require Krishna consciousness. So, Krishna has created this world in such a way that people can think they are happy without Krishna. They can be happy in forgetfulness of Krishna. But the fact remains that in the absence of Krishna, our experience of happiness is always flickering, it is momentary, and it can never be fully satisfying to the soul. See, the happiness with reference to sense contact can only be satisfying to the body, to the mind, or to the intelligence. It can never satisfy the soul. So the real you, or the real living being, or the real person is always the spirit soul within the coverings of the body, mind and intelligence. So therefore, any happiness, any material happiness is only going to satisfy the body, mind or intelligence, which are all material. It can never satisfy the real you, the real soul. Next question. Do our intentions to control the mind also come from the mind? Or do they come from the soul with its own mind? First of all, we have to understand who we are. We are spirit soul, separate or different from our mind, intelligence and our body or senses. So we are different from these three. So these three are described as coverings for the real you or real soul, the real spirit. So the intention to control the mind is the initiative of the soul. All desires are desires of the soul. The ability or the capacity to desire belongs to the soul, belongs to a living person. Just like this table cannot have desires. Dead matter cannot have desire. Dead matter cannot experience happiness. Okay? So, all those faculties, thinking, feeling, willing, loving, desiring, all that belongs to the soul, belongs to the real person, the spirit. Does not belong to the mind, does not belong to the intelligence, doesn't belong to the senses, does not belong to the body. Next question. How can Brahma be Narada's guru when Narada's body is spiritual and Brahma's body is material? Good question. Now, the system in this material world is that anybody who has taken birth in this material world, it is to be understood that they are born into ignorance. So, because anyone who takes birth, by taking birth I mean those who are taking birth by force of karma. They are born into ignorance, they have to approach another person who is in knowledge and receive that, especially the spiritual knowledge, from another person situated in spiritual knowledge, spiritual understanding. So, Brahma, he takes birth as Narada takes birth as son of Brahma. Though Narada is not born by force of karma, to teach us that anybody who's taken birth in this material world has to approach a proper spiritual master, Narada himself approaches Brahma. Though Narada, as a transcendental personality, liberated personality with a spiritual form, does not require to approach anyone for knowledge. He is already enlightened. He is perfectly enlightened, fully enlightened. So, Narada is not in need of knowledge, but just to teach by his example. Narada is Acharya. He is teaching by his own example. So he approaches a guru to teach us that we have to approach a guru. Therefore, he approaches Brahma, who is his father, and he takes lessons, though there is no need for him to take lessons. It is just like Krishna when he appeared 5,000 years back. Krishna approached Sandipani Muni to learn. Now, what is the need for Krishna to learn? He is the source of all knowledge. But he is playing the role of a Kshatriya. So, therefore, he approaches a guru, a proper guru, and learns from the guru. Just to teach us. He doesn't require knowledge. Next question. If nature is inherently divine, then are the laws of nature as explained by scientists also divine? Material nature is inherently divine because it is one of the energies of the Supreme Lord, who is completely divine personality. So in that sense, divine. But the effect of material nature on somebody who desires to enjoy materially is that it binds. Sattvam rajas tama iti guna prakriti sambhavaha nibaddanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. 14th chapter, Krishna explains. Material nature consists of 3 gunas, sattva guna, rajo guna, tamo guna. And these gunas bind the conditioned soul to material existence. And consequently, the result of bondage is ignorance and suffering. Ignorance and suffering. Whereas earlier it was described by Krishna in the 7th chapter, material nature consists of 8 elements. Bhumi rapo nalo vayu kham mano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakriti rashtada. This bhinna prakriti is material nature. Material nature consists of 8 elements. But the secret revealed in the Bhagavad Gita is that material nature not only has 8 elements, material nature also has these 3 gunas. And these 3 gunas are not visible. These 3 gunas are not very apparent. So this is a secret that is revealed in the Gita. These gunas are influencing our consciousness, our mind, our thinking. So these gunas are binding the conditioned soul to this material world. Binding means we are trapped. We are trapped in this material world. And how do the gunas bind us to this material world? Through this body, material body, through the material mind, through the material intelligence, we are bound up. We can act only through the material body, material mind, material intelligence. That's the only way we can function in this material world. Even though as spirit soul, neither we are in need of this material body or material mind or material intelligence, neither we are in ignorance in our original spiritual condition, neither we have to seek any happiness, neither we have to suffer any material misery, but foolishly, because we desire to materially enjoy, because we desire to dominate or lord over material nature, we are forced to accept this material body. And consequently, we are put into ignorance, we are under influence of illusion, we have to suffer the miseries of material existence, and forced to do so, not out of choice, forced to do so. So therefore, even though material nature is divine, the influence of material nature on conditioned souls is not at all very pleasing. It's not at all divine. It's not divine, it's not pleasing. It is miserable. It's horrible. It's abominable. The influence is abominable. So get out of this material influence. Don't remain in ignorance. Don't foolishly think you are very happy in material existence. Next question. How dependent is karma on destiny and destiny on karma? Let us try to understand what is karma and what is destiny. Karma means the laws of nature which are working, based on which, depending on the type of activity any person of this world performs, that person has to experience or undergo a reaction in future. That is a law of karma. It is forced upon everybody who takes birth as a conditioned soul. So, karma, the laws of karma dictate that in a particular body, a certain set of happiness and suffering due to certain reactions, my own actions in the past life or past lives, I am bound to suffer and enjoy. So that because of my past karma and the body I have got now, whatever I am destined to enjoy and suffer is called destiny. So try to understand the difference between destiny and karma. Destiny is the result of karma. Destiny is the result of karma. So destiny is based on karma, is dependent on karma, individual karma. But karma is not based on destiny, no. Destiny merely is what is the suffering and what is the enjoyment that is given to each living being in a particular body based on that living being's past actions. Next question. How to navigate attention when so many thoughts strike the mind and maintain concentration while studying Prabhupada's books? Good question. It is our habit to let the mind free completely and act according to the dictation of the mind always. That's our habit in this material world. So when we take to spiritual practice, Krishna consciousness, when we begin chanting Hare Krishna, japa particularly, then we do realize that our attention is not always fixed on chanting and hearing the holy name of the Supreme Lord, which we should be doing during japa. Consequently, when our attention is not fully fixed on the chanting and hearing of the Hare Krishna mantra, we don't get the full benefit of chanting, the full spiritual benefit of chanting and hearing. We don't get the full benefit. We get a very, 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 very little benefit by chanting without giving full attention. So if at all you want the full benefit of chanting Hare Krishna, if you want the perfection of spiritual life, which is Krishna Prema, then you have to give your full attention to chanting and hearing exclusively. You have to stop all other activities. You should not be distracted by anything else, externally or internally. There are two kinds of distractions for every person who is chanting Hare Krishna and trying to hear the very chant. What are the two kinds of distractions? External distractions and internal distractions. External distractions you understand. Some sound from external source or somebody trying to speak to you or something else happening which may distract you from what you are trying to do. Internal distraction is due to our own mind. What is that? In the mind, thoughts are arising from our subconscious mind. From our subconscious mind. So those thoughts keep coming. Now, you don't have to give attention to those thoughts. It's a choice you can exercise whether you want to give attention to those thoughts or you don't want to give attention. For example, if you are hearing me what I am speaking now very attentively, even though there are thoughts in the mind while you are hearing me, you are not giving attention, therefore you are not conscious, you are not aware of those thoughts that are arising in your mind. Similarly, if you give full attention to chanting and hearing the Hare Krishna mantra, then the thoughts that arise in your mind will not distract you, will not be an obstacle for your japa, for your spiritual practice. So practice this. Giving full attention, practice this. So you should do japa at a time when there is minimum external distraction. You should do japa at a time when you have rested properly. Typically after resting at night, you wake up in the morning fresh, take a nice bath, and with a fresh mind you try to chant. Then it is possible to give your attention fully for chanting and hearing, and don't do any other activity, don't think of any other, simultaneously don't plan. See, it's a habit that while we are doing one activity, we also side by side, simultaneously try to plan or think of something else. That may be okay for some ordinary material activities that you do. It's like somebody every day has got a duty or a work to clean this table that they use. Once in a day they'll clean the table. Now while cleaning the table, because they do it every day, they don't have to give their full attention to clean the table very nicely. If little attention is enough, very little attention. So they can also give part of their attention for while cleaning the table, thinking of some future plan, thinking of some other subject. They can do that. And the cleaning can happen as it always has been happening. The cleaning doesn't get affected. It's possible by practice. But that is not true for chanting Hare Krishna Japa. Why? Because chanting Hare Krishna Japa requires your full attention if at all you want to get the full benefit, the spiritual benefit, full spiritual benefit of chanting Hare Krishna. It is not an activity which requires little attention, and with practice you keep on doing it, and then without giving full attention you can get the benefit. No, never. You can never get it. It always requires your full attention. But then that habit of not giving full attention to one activity has to be broken, has to be changed. Changing old habits is not easy. It requires time. It requires perseverance. It requires good practice, regular practice. But you can change. And if you are able to change your habit, then you can do not only chanting very nicely, you can also do all other activities very nicely. For example, when a student or any person takes a book and starts reading the book, if they read with full attention, they can read very fast and they are grasping the subject matter described in the particular book is fantastic. But the same reading they do without giving full attention, they may not be even able to understand even the very basic topic that is described here. Or they may not be able to read fast. The reading will be very slow. The reading will be interrupted. So many defects are there in doing activities without giving full attention. Lot of defects are there actually. So it is helpful for you that whatever activity you are routinely doing, you can do it super efficiently if you practice giving full attention to one particular activity and stopping all other activities concurrently. Don't do concurrently many activities. Try to do only one activity at a time, and you see you become super efficient and you are able to do the activity very nicely. You can relish doing the activity, etc. How to find one's real identity with Krishna? The process of Krishna consciousness helps us to clear away our ignorance, dispel our ignorance about who we are, about who is Krishna, about what is this world, etc. And once our ignorance is dispelled, then we know who we are, we know who is Krishna, we know what is our relationship. So the process of Krishna consciousness is the method. The process of chanting Hare Krishna and all the other activities in Krishna consciousness are meant to find your real identity, who you are, who is Krishna, what is your relationship, etc. Next part of the same question: how does jiva fall down to the material world from the spiritual world? This fall down is actually not a real fall down, in the sense that we belong to the spiritual world, we are always dependent on Krishna. Krishna is our only maintainer. So that fact does not get altered even when we are in this material world. So when we say we are in the material world, it is our consciousness which is materially absorbed. You can understand that physically I am in this place, in one place, let us say. Now my mind need not be in that physical place where I am situated. Like I am in Bangalore, I can be thinking of some other place. My mind can be in Chennai, another place. So, just like physically, even though you are in one place, mentally you can be in some other place. Similarly, we understand from the scriptures, we are always in the spiritual world with Krishna, always. Eternally we are so. And that's our position. That's our eternal position. We cannot come away from Krishna as spirit soul. But then, when we desire to be independent of Krishna, when we desire material enjoyment, when we desire to lord over material nature, then we are placed in this material world in terms of our consciousness. Our consciousness. So our consciousness forgets Krishna. In our consciousness, within our consciousness, we forget Krishna. And we become aware of this material world. So it is just awareness. Material existence means material awareness. The spirit soul, actually, you cannot locate the spirit soul in physical dimension. Though it is said sometimes that the soul is in the heart region. But the soul doesn't exist in the physical dimension. Just like if you cut open the heart, can you find the soul there? No. Because soul is not a physical object to search like that. Soul is in the spiritual dimension. So you search for the soul in the spiritual dimension because it is a spiritual entity. Just like, can you search for the mind within this body? Where do you search for the mind in this body? You can't see the mind, you can't touch the mind, you can't feel the mind, you can't smell the mind. The mind is not perceptible by our five senses. So therefore, the mind cannot be searched within this body. The soul cannot be searched within this body. Soul is not a material entity. Like your organs, it's not a material object like that to search for. So therefore, it is a question of realization. Discovering oneself or finding oneself or understanding who am I is a matter of realization. And that is possible by change of consciousness. Change of consciousness. So that change of consciousness is affected by spiritual practice of Krishna consciousness. You become Krishna conscious, then you become aware of yourself, you become aware of Krishna, you become aware of this world, you become aware of the spiritual world, everything. When you become Krishna conscious. But if you are not Krishna conscious, then your awareness is limited to your body and whatever your body can allow you to perceive, your senses. Body is made of senses. Like that. So there is no fall down for the jiva from the spiritual world. There is no fall down. It is just a question of the consciousness becoming affected. Consciousness becomes affected. So when your consciousness becomes reinstated into Krishna consciousness, then you are liberated. Then you are in the spiritual world. Even though somebody may be in the material world physically, if they are Krishna conscious, then spiritually they are situated with Krishna in his personal abode. That's a fact. Next question. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita that if one thinks at the time of death, if he thinks of Krishna, he goes to Krishna. What if one thinks of a spiritual master? Now we should understand what does it mean to think of Krishna. Krishna, again, as I said, I am repeating what I said earlier, Krishna is not a person of this world. Krishna doesn't have a material body. Krishna doesn't have a material consciousness. So Krishna is an entirely different kind of personality, a transcendental personality. So to think of Krishna is possible if we become situated on the spiritual dimension of existence. We become situated on the spiritual platform, Brahman platform. It's called the Brahman platform. Brahma Bhuta stage of existence in the Bhagavad Gita. Spiritual existence. So only in spiritual existence, is it possible to think of Krishna? It's possible to know Krishna. It's possible to perform devotional service to Krishna only on the spiritual platform, only in spiritual existence. So, thinking of Krishna at the time of death means being situated in spiritual consciousness at the time of death. So, in that spiritual consciousness, we understand also that Krishna is never alone. Krishna means Krishna with his names, with his forms, with his qualities, with his activities, with his devotees, with his paraphernalia, with his abode, everything. Krishna means everything. So, spiritual master is there always with Krishna. Krishna is always with all his devotees. You cannot separate the devotees from Krishna. Neither you can separate Krishna from his devotees. Not possible. So they are always together, eternally. So thinking of Krishna, thinking of this pure devotee spiritual master, all are same, identical, no difference. So if you think of pure devotee spiritual master, you go back to the spiritual world. Think of Krishna, you go back to the spiritual world. Next question. The yugas go on in a cycle. Which Maha-yuga is currently going on as per human calculation? As per the earthly calculation, it is the 28th Maha-yuga of this particular Manvantara in this day of Brahma. According to the Bhagavad Gita, there are 1000 Maha-yugas in a day of Brahma, in 12 hours of Brahma, according to his Brahma's time scale. So, these 1000 Maha-yugas in a day of Brahma are divided into 14 Manvantaras, 14 periods of different Manu. So, each Manvantara is about 71 Maha-yugas. So, out of those 71 Maha-yugas, in this 7th Manvantara, present Manvantara called Vaivasvata Manvantara, 27 are already over. This 28th Maha-yuga is going on now. In this 28th Dwapar Yuga, prior to this 28th Kali Yuga of this Manvantara, Krishna appeared. So, now 28th Kali Yuga is going on in this cycle of 71 Maha-yugas of this Manvantara. Next question. In a situation where there is a choice between chanting and reading, is chanting a better activity than reading? Chanting is the highest priority. But since we are unable to chant all the time, we are given variegated activities in Krishna consciousness. So that we, as far as possible, we try to engage always in Krishna conscious activities to perfect our life, spiritual life. So to do variety of activities is easier for us in the beginning than to do only one activity all the time. So therefore, chanting and reading are varieties of activities that are recommended to be done, because we can't do only one activity. If we can do only chanting all the time, that is the best. That is enough and that is perfect. But since we cannot do that, we are also given other activities like reading. So you first finish your quota of chanting 16 rounds of Hare Krishna mantra. First priority, topmost priority. And then you do the other activities, variegated activities in Krishna consciousness. Next question. If Maya takes a hold on one, what is the quickest way to go back to Krishna? To become Krishna conscious. To come out of the clutches of Maya through the practice of bhakti. Moment you say Hare Krishna, the transcendental vibration pulls you out of Maya and places you on the spiritual platform. So if you keep chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, you are elevated to the material, spiritual platform, you remain on the spiritual platform. You don't come down if you don't stop chanting. Therefore Krishna says his pure devotees, they are constantly engaged in kirtana. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha drudavrataha. Satatam means always, continuously. So Krishna says, my devotees are engaged in my constant glorification. Satatam kirtayanto mam. The quickest way to go back to Krishna is to chant Hare Krishna and practice this chanting more and more and more, and also perform variegated activities in Krishna consciousness to quickly make progress to come to perfection state. Next question. Can we also become like nitya-siddha devotees who never fall? Yes, that is the goal. Even though presently we are in material consciousness, if we practice Krishna consciousness and perfect our Krishna consciousness, then we return to Krishna's abode where we belong. And once we go to Krishna's abode, we never again come back to this material world. Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita. Yad gatva na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita. So, on the assurance given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, we simply have to practice Krishna consciousness and go to Krishna's abode. And having gone there, you will never come back again. How can one become a good disciple of Srila Prabhupada? And with what mood one should approach Srila Prabhupada? To become a good disciple of Prabhupada means to nicely follow Prabhupada's instructions. So, who is a good disciple? One who follows properly whatever Prabhupada has instructed, and thereby makes very rapid advancement in Krishna consciousness. Very quickly becomes fixed up, well situated in bhakti. It's possible. So what mood should one approach Prabhupada? Mood of humility. In a humble way one should approach the bona fide spiritual master. Humble means not having a very high estimation of oneself and always ready to offer respect to others without expecting any respect for oneself. That is humility. Amanina manadena. So that way one approaches Prabhupada in a humble way, then very easily one will get shelter at the lotus feet of Prabhupada and then get all help, all directions from Prabhupada to execute Krishna consciousness and become perfect. How to follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's word, Trunarapi Sunichena. Become humbler than a blade of grass. This is just to indicate that one should become very, very humble. Then only one can properly practice Krishna consciousness. This humility is developed by purification of our heart. So many material contaminations are mainly the misconception of oneself. It's like I think I'm some great person or big person, or I'm some intelligent person, or I'm an achiever, or I got so much wealth, or I got so much of knowledge, or I got so many nice friends. These are all functions of false ego, because nothing belongs to me. Everything belongs to Krishna. No one belongs to me. Everyone belongs to Krishna. So if no one belongs to me and no object belongs to me, then what is mine? Only Krishna is yours, or Krishna is mine. Everything else belongs to Krishna. We have nothing to do with the other objects or other things or other persons. In present consciousness, we are only meant to connect with Krishna and actually be with Krishna. Recognize everything as belonging to Krishna and consequently use it in His service. That's the proper utilization of anything which factually belongs to Krishna. We come empty-handed, so what is ours? Simply we claim by some arrangement that this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. But nothing is ours. Ishopanishad says everything belongs to God. So, with that humility, nothing belongs to me, everything belongs to Krishna. Krishna is my maintainer, Krishna is my protector, Krishna is my controller, Krishna is my master, Krishna is my everything. That is the Trunalapi Sunichena state of consciousness. So I'll stop here. Remaining questions I'll answer in the next week's session. Thank you very much. Hare